Good morning. It's Brenda Quintana, and I am live from my Beehive studio this morning. It is a very rainy day today. This is the remnants of Hurricane Florence coming through here. Of course, it's not a hurricane or anything like that. It's just the rain that's left over from that storm coming through. Excuse me. This morning is Casing Tuesday, and it's the day when we choose a card out of the catalog. Everyone chooses the same card, and we give it a makeover. So it's a way for us all to participate in making the same card. And we have a Facebook group for that. And so today I'm showing you my card that I have made based on the card in the catalog. So if you want information on our Facebook group, make sure you click down below. I've left you guys the link, and that's the group where we share on. If you want to see my card and want to see the dimensions, you can also click on the blog link and it will take you directly to my blog. So this week, it's kind of a busy week for me. I am heading off to Canada on Friday. My parents are moving to a condo, and I am going out there to help them. I live in the Boston area, so I'm flying all the way over across the country to the other side, and then I'm flying up to British Columbia. So I will be there for a week. So that means next week I will not be doing a Facebook Live on Tuesday because I don't have my stamping supplies with me, and it just would be too hard. So I will not be doing one next week, but I will be back in 2 weeks. So if you, but I will still be posting a card on my blog on Tuesday. I just won't be doing a video to accompany that. So we will see each other in 2 weeks. Anyway, why don't we get started today, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. This card is kind of interesting because I used black instead of kind of the traditional green, and I thought it actually looked kind of cool, so I can't wait to show you this card. Let me flip you guys around. There is my rainy day out there. It is just, well, it lightened up a little bit, but it was just kind of coming down quite heavily. We managed to go for a walk this morning though, so I am always happy when we can walk outside and I don't have to walk on the treadmill in the morning. I will walk anywhere basically because I'm quite dedicated to my walking, but it's always nice when you can do it outside. So this is the card that we are casing today. It's this little square card. Some of our bloggers that case with us every week, they took this and made it into a regular size Stampin' Up card, which has a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 front. So you can definitely do that. I kept it as a square card. So let's see what I did with it. So I took the card, I'm using a real red card base, and I've got an extra layer on there too. And then I took some of this black foil sheet and I ran it through the embossing folder and I sanded it. So there's quite a few little details on this card, and I'm going to show you those as I make it. The only stamp set I'm using is the Flourish Filigree, and if you saw my video yesterday, I used it on some note cards, which I really liked because they were kind of nice and easy. So I'm using the Happy Christmas Wishes again because it's such a nice greeting. So let's do this in order. Let's start from the base. Trying to think. No. Let's start from the front and then work our way down. So we'll start off with some thick Whisper White cardstock, the Happy Christmas Wishes stamp, and we'll grab some real red ink. Open that up. Then I'm just going to ink this up and stamp it onto my cardstock. This is the only stamping we're doing, so that's kind of cool and easy. The pretty label punch matches the greetings in the Flourish Filigree Stamp Set. So that's a nice stamp to have with that stamp set. And this combination is really what sold me on the stamp set, because it's sometimes hard to find a really, really pretty Christmas greeting, and this one just looks so nice. You could layer it on almost anything, so I really, really like that stamp. Okay, so then the next thing I did was I took some old olive, and this is a new punch in the catalog as well. It's called the Sprig Punch. So we're just gonna need like 3 sprigs. So I'm just making sure. Punch 1. This is a really handy punch because it actually has quite a bit of detail in it, and you know, to cut out an image like that would be difficult by hand. And a punch is a little faster than die cutting, as you may know. So if you're making a lot of these, you can go really quickly and go and just keep punching them all out. So that's kind of cool. So then I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper, and I'm just going to pop these all onto my scrap paper. And I'm going to take my old olive sponge dauber. Now, sponge daubers do not come in different colors. They come plain, but I designate a particular punch for a particular color. So I've just labeled mine as old olive, so I only use it in old olive ink. I don't like to muddy my colors, so that's why I designate them. And what I do, I don't have one sponge dauber for every color yet, but as I need a sponge dauber in a particular color, I take it and I label it. So not all of my, I haven't used up all of my clean sponge daubers. It's kind of as needed. I use it. There's some colors I'll probably never sponge dauber in, so that's why I don't have them there. So I've got my old olive ink pad, opening that up, and then I'm just grabbing some ink, and I'm just going to kind of brush along these sprigs because they look a little dimensionless, because they're just like flat, maybe because they don't have, they're just out of plain cardstock. So I thought just by sponging them lightly, I could give them a little bit of dimension without very much work. I'll pop that back. So those are those. Okay, and then the next layer, let me move these out of the way. I'm going to need my Big Shot for. So I've got my Big Shot, and I've got the tin tile embossing folder. I almost forgot the name of that. This is some black foil sheet that I've cut to 3 inches by 3 inches. I'm going to just pop this in the bottom right here, and I'm kind of centering it on the square so it fits over 4 squares perfectly. So this is a 3 by 3 section. That's why I chose it for the center square, because I wanted kind of 4 perfect little tiles to fit in there. I'm using my Big Shot, and I have the base platform on here. This is an extra thick embossing folder. So when you have an extra thick embossing folder, you only need, make sure that's straight, you only need 1 cutting plate. So I'm putting this down, putting my thumb on here so it doesn't shift in the meantime, and taking 1 cutting plate and putting it on top. And then I'm going to run this through. And you can run it back through again. It should be pretty good even if you just do it once, but seeing as I have it in the machine, it's easy to do just once. Oh, we have an emergency alert for flooding in our area, but that's just an alert. I don't think it's going to flood right here right now. It's just kind of a little a flood alert for our area. So I just bumped this. This is my host code for the month, and if any of you need to order supplies, if you want to order supplies that I'm using today, you can use this host code. If you spend $15 with me, you can get one of my paid tutorials for free. This is the new one I have this month. It's this little Hershey's mini Christmas tree with a gift box, so you can get that. Or if you spend at least $75 with me this month, you can get the Swirls and Curls embossing folder, and those will mail out in October. So just keep that in mind if you want to place an order. So I've got this little tin tile emboss piece, and I wanted to distress it a little bit. So I went downstairs to my painting supplies, and I got a one of these. These are a great little sanding sponges. They're easy to hold. You can find them in the paint department. And I just kind of really just sanded over top of my piece. You can hold it and just kind of take off some of the surface of this piece. All right, so I've distressed it quite a bit. Get rid of this stuff. Now, I'm gonna add a little bit of ink to the front of this, but this still has a lot of dust and debris on it, so I'm just gonna rub this on my pant leg. It's my high-tech method. You might want to use a paper towel or a dry rag or something. So I just took my Real Red sponge dauber and some Real Red ink, and I'm just adding a little bit of ink to this. Now, I do realize that this is silver foil underneath, so my red ink did not really stay on that well. So I'm just adding a little bit and trying not to get it where my fingers are going to touch, because probably it would have just been better if I had not even added red ink. But since I added red ink to the sample, I wanted to show you where the red came from. But I'm a little dubious as to whether or not it would stay on. I think if you took a Stampin' Blend and added it, like we could just do that right now. Let me take my light Real Red. This would stay on a little better, so you could add that. That's probably what I recommend, coming in and just highlighting those, because those, this is alcohol marker, so this will actually be permanent. Yep, learning on the job here, right? So if you're just adding some red little accents to here, just kind of in the background, that will kind of look good. Okay, so now we need to do this Real Red layer. So this is a layer that sits on top of my card base, and I'm going to just do some score marks on this. So I'm bringing in my scoring tool. Now, this is scored basically on the 1/4 inch mark and the 3/8 inch mark on all 4 sides. But it's very hard to score right next to the edge, especially if you're doing all 4 sides. So instead of doing that, I'm scoring over here on this side and turning it around. So I'm going to score it at the 3 5/8 inch mark on all 4 sides. So I'm just kind of making sure I'm hitting the same score mark 4 times. And then I'm going to do it at the 3 3/4 inch mark 4 times as well. All 4 sides. Just come along and hit all of those, because it's so much easier to hit over here, because over here you're like right next to the edge. It's just a little harder. So that creates very subtle pattern of scoring. Just very easy to do if you have a scoring tool, and it's not really that much extra work, and you can do this to almost any card. Then you're going to need a card base, and this one is 8.5 by 4 1/4 and scored at 4 1/4. Now you might be wondering, what kind of envelope can I stick this in? Well, you can make an envelope with it using the envelope punch board, or let me grab a regular size envelope. What I do if I'm in a hurry, this still fits in a regular medium size envelope, okay? So you can just stick it in the medium envelope, and I might just put a plain piece of Whisper White that does the whole section of the envelope, so the whole thing has a little bit more stability rather than having this floppy end on the end. But you can definitely still mail it in a medium-sized envelope. That's why I created a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 square card rather than going larger, because it's just an easier way to mail a card. If you mail a square card with US Post, it will cost you more postage. But if you mail it in this size envelope, it's just considered just a regular medium-sized card. So as long as it still has the same, if it meets the weight requirement and it's not bulky, then you can send it in a regular envelope with a forever stamp. Okay, so now let's assemble this card. So I need some adhesive, and I'm going to use Tombow because Tombow is good. If anyone has any questions while I'm doing this, just please post them. I'll check them before I leave. I'm going to grab my declogger, my fancy declogger. You've seen this before. It's a paper clip that's been stretched out that I use to unclog my Tombow. I use my Tombow a lot, so and sometimes I leave it open accidentally, so it does clog sometimes, but it's very easy to unclog. And Tombow is one of my favorite adhesives because it actually sticks pretty well and it keeps my projects together. There's nothing worse than, you know, going through all the work of making a project and then having it fall apart. That's not good. So I'm just sticking my Real Red layer on my Real Red card base. Say that quickly a few times. This is my tin piece, and I'm just going to center this on here. I really distressed this one. It's funny how the first one I did, I've done 3 of these. The first one I did not turn out as distressed. Okay, making sure this is sticking down. This is a foil piece, so it's like, it needs a little extra help. See, it wants to lift up. It will stick down. The glue just needs to like dry a little bit, and then it will be happy and it will stick down. So while I'm doing that, let me grab some of this glittered black organdy ribbon. I love this stuff. It is so pretty and sparkly. Okay. Grab my locking tweezers. I'm just trying to see how much ribbon I need. I just kind of measure it on the card, and I just kind of look to see how much I need. To grab my ribbon cutting scissors. Do any of you have ribbon cutting scissors? I have ribbon cutting scissors that I only cut ribbon with, and therefore there's a little piece of ribbon tied to my scissors, and my family knows that they are not allowed to use these unless they're cutting ribbon, which my husband and son do not cut a lot of ribbon, I have to say. They kind of pretty much leave me to my own devices in my craft room, and they do not craft with me very often. I don't know if my husband's ever made anything with me. My son has when he was little, but not my husband. Maybe I need to have him come craft with me one day. That would be an interesting video. So I'm just kind of tying a little knot here. This ribbon actually kind of holds well enough that you might not even need the locking tweezers because it's got a little stiffness to it. So you could try doing it without. So I'm just going to come around and tie a little knot. Arrange this over here. I always kind of play with my ribbon to like kind of make sure it's kind of going where I want it to go. I don't know if you do that too. It kind of needs to sometimes be shaped a little bit. All right. So there's the ribbon. It's coming together. And now I've just got these little pieces left. So for this, I'm going to use a little Tombow on the base of each of these sprigs. So I just start arranging them. The rain's really coming down now. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's coming down. So I just start and I start arranging it over on the one side. Then I grab the next sprig and kind of layer it These sprigs you can kind of pull apart too. Because they're only attached on the one skinny little end, you can sometimes maneuver them just a little bit too. You don't want it too perfect though, because otherwise it doesn't look good either. So then just grab the last one, and then I'm just going to kind of bring that down here. It's just like a bunch of sprigs and branches. Then let me turn this around and grab some dimensionals. So I am going to just put a dimensional here and a dimensional here. I'm not going to put one on this end because this ribbon, it's going to stick to the ribbon, but it's not actually, it's still going to be kind of sliding around. So I think I'm just going to leave that area blank. So I've just put one right here and right here. So kind of straddling the ribbon so it actually sticks to the foil without coming loose. All right, removing those backings. And then I'm just going to flip this around and just kind of nest it in here. That looks good. All right, and then finally, I'm going to grab some of these red rhinestones. I love red rhinestones. They're colored for me. You can color the regular rhinestones with Stampin' Blends or an alcohol marker, but for Christmas you need a lot of red rhinestones. You just do. So it's nice that we actually have red rhinestones. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick them up. I'm going to pick up 2. It's nice because they come on a big sheet. They're all the same size. You don't have to figure out, do I need a large one, small one? They're all the same size. They're happy. They're great. I love them. And that is it. And so you can see a little bit of that red peeking out in the black foil. Here's the original card. I love the glittered organdy because it's got glitter in it as well. So it's a very sparkly background with a hint of green, but black. Who would have thought black for a Christmas color? But I think it actually looks elegant. It's got that wrought iron sort of look, or maybe not quite oil rub bronze because it doesn't have the bronze in it, but it's got that black deep look to it. And look how I sanded it. Both times I sanded it differently. I don't know, I must have sanded it later on this one than I did on this one, so it's kind of got 2 different looks. So I kind of like that. So what do you think? Do you think red and black makes a good Christmas combo? I don't know. You'll have to let me know. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around and come back to you guys. So that was the card for today, and I hope you guys will join me and make a card for yourself. I don't think this is a hard layout. So, I think, you could do whatever you wanted. If you didn't want to put a greeting here, you could do an image here if you wanted to. My greeting layer is a little smaller. The one in the sample is a little bigger, so you could change that around a little bit. In the original sample, there was designer series paper where I have my black foil layer. So you could use designer series paper. You could make your own pretty pattern just by stamping a background. So I think this layout is actually quite versatile, and I think you could come up with a great card to share with us. And that is the cool thing. I want to see your cards over on the Facebook group. Go ahead and stamp something and share it with us on there so we can comment on it. That's a nice part about this challenge. It is a bit of a challenge sometimes. Like sometimes it will not be easy for you to create a card based on this week's card. But I challenge you to try it anyway, because it does make you a better stamper. And sometimes the layout is really easy and nice, and then it actually saves you time. So it makes you start looking at cards differently. In the catalog, they are useful tools and not just samples. And maybe there's a sample that has a stamp set that you don't have, or you're not planning on getting, but you can still use that sample to create your own card with your own stamped images. So that it kind of is like, I don't know, it's a learning process. That's what Casing Tuesday is about. It's a learning process. So I hope you guys will join us over there. So don't forget, this week I am leaving, so I will be gone on Tuesday, next Tuesday, and I will be back with you in 2 weeks. So I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks until then, and I'll tell you all about Canada and what happened during the move. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that my parents get everything moved. I'm supposed to be the mean sister, I guess, because I'm coming from out of town. My sister lives in town, and I'm supposed to be the get it done sister. So I'm like, I have to put my game face on, and I'm getting my parents moved. They delayed their move a month, and that's when I just decided I'm going out there to help them, because it is a very daunting task. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that, had to move yourself or with your parents. And if you've ever lived in a place for a very long time, you probably have a lot more stuff, because when you move, you get rid of stuff. I've done a couple of big moves, so we don't have as much stuff as some people, because you tend to detach from stuff if you have to do a lot of moves. But my parents have lived in the same place for, I'm trying to figure out, over 40 years, like 40, 45, 44 years. So it's been a very long time, and it's hard to decide what to take with you and what not to take with you. It's hard to let go of stuff. So I'm the mean sister that gets to come in and say, nope, we're moving on Tuesday. Actually, that's Casing Tuesday is going to be moving Tuesday, and we're moving that day no matter what, because it is not safe for them to live in their house anymore. They're on a very steep hill. They have a steep driveway, and they're in their the late 70s, and it's just not a safe place for them anymore. And their friends don't come out and visit them in the winter because of the snow and everything. And so when they're in town, they'll be parking for their friends to come visit them, and they'll be able to get out more easily in the winter, and my mom won't be scared, you know, to drive up and down that driveway. So like, we really need to get them moved. So that's why I'm going. I'm sure some of you can relate. I'm going to just flip down. I don't think I had any questions, but I didn't actually check. Sorry, I'm looking through my reading glasses. You should have some kind of craft first aid bag. That's a good idea. I should, but I'm working from home, so I like just have to run across to the first aid drawer where I have like Band-Aids and all sorts of things to, you know, if I ever have an injury, a stamping injury. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks, and I will see you in 2 weeks. It was so nice that you dropped by this morning and said hi. If you're watching this on YouTube, just so you know, I am not live on YouTube, but I'm very thankful if you leave me a comment as well. So I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.